And I want to show you some of the criticism that we get from like the other side, the anti-incorporation side, because a lot of times I think their perspective is one of like layers, right? Like they see like the city reporting to the county, who reports to the state, who reports to the federal government. But when I talk to folks like yourself who've had the experience, not so much. It's a lot more of the city driving the project, and the county's kind of along for the ride, providing funding and a little bit of support, as opposed to like telling you how to do it, when to do it, all that stuff.
Yeah, your city sets the tone. So the city does a lot of the work independently of the county.
Right. And the same thing with the state, right? Is that the state's got enough of its own problems that it's worried about it at that level. It's not going to get in the way of a city that's using its home rule to do those things. Because here's some of it, and I don't know if you know this, but just having you on the show created some controversy on Facebook, because part of the argument from the anti-incorporation side is a lot of times their belief is that a city staff provides no benefit. Is it if Navarre, I appreciate this, you're already anticipating it, but they think that, hey, Navarre's going to incorporate, at which point they're going to be putting money towards city staff that's not going to provide any benefit whatsoever. And I asked one of them, I was like, can you explain this? And Brian did, and I appreciate that he took the time, because I asked him, does a city staff make a difference? And he says, of course, she's going to think, talking about you, a city makes a difference, and it does. It makes a lot of changes to the way we enjoy life around here. Okay, so it changes things. It adds government red tape, taxes, additional politicians, more bureaucracy, more people trying to run your life, more people who ignore your wishes even after you vote for them, a higher chance we have a liberal governing body, and so many more differences. So what do you think when you read that? Like, what is that your perspective, or do you see any truth to it?
It's not my perspective. And being prior military, and my husband's military as well, I really saw the city, the way that municipalities are run, it's very similar to the military. As far as the dedication that you see from city staff, I don't think that it should ever come down to accusing your city staff of not working efficiently or appropriately. They work very, very hard. They're very dedicated, and not just in your day-to-day operations, but also when there's an emergency, when there is a hurricane. Even in Texas, in Abilene, when I can't remember which hurricane it was, but it affected Houston and a lot of the areas down there. The Red Cross came out and asked for volunteers just to man the phone lines, because those phone lines were going nonstop by people who needed help. And so there was so much city staff that had volunteered that it was hard. If you didn't sign up from the start, you weren't going to get any available slot to help. So they jumped to help assist in those times. And then in Gulf Breeze, Gulf Breeze does an amazing job for emergency response. Their city staff, I've seen some of them sleep in their offices overnight. So to say that it adds another level of bureaucracy, I kind of understand where you're coming from if you feel that way. But I feel like you're not truly valuing having such a local dedicated staff that is there to listen to you and that kind of knows your struggle, because they're there as well. For the most part, most staff live in the area and know that area very well. So they're also invested, because many of them are residents. So I don't feel like it's going to be a waste. I don't feel like it would be any more red tape. I feel like it is a better way to advocate for the interest and the preservation that we need here.
Here's a question. Let's say that you had an effective city staff like you're describing, right? And then somebody who comes in, tries to get a job there, that has this agenda, right? That doesn't really want to work for the people, that just wants to, what does he say, run people's lives, ignore their wishes, and that just wants to change things and inflict pain on their neighbors, right? That person shows up at a city or gets a job. What is that?
They aren't going to last long, to be honest.
Why would that be the case?
Well, because senior staff, they'll pick up on that. They really do guide staff dedication and staff feelings towards their work. And for the most part, city work is kind of a thankless job. It just like kind of the military and kind of like police. So I feel like if someone came in with those kind of values and didn't really dedicate themselves the way that was necessary for that kind of work, they wouldn't last. It would just definitely show in their initial products, and then they just aren't going to be of any use.
Yeah.
So I don't feel like.
I also think about the nature of transparency, right? Because
Yes.
a huge thing that I see in Navarre is that there is centralized power. Like,
Yeah.
people don't really want to acknowledge that often, but we do have people making decisions about us. It's not like
Yeah.
a lot of the anti-incorporation people seem to think that it's all freedom and everything is just kind of like happy-go-lucky, and then here comes incorporation people trying to ruin the party. But what I've seen, the longer that I live here, I see the county making decisions. I see them saying, you know what, let's try to use that tourism money for a flag up in Milton. I see them saying, hey, you know what we're going to do? We're going to take some of that money too, and we're going to spend it to advertise all over, right? I see them building a $40 million courthouse or whatever. And I see other cities like Gulf Breeze, like Jay, like Milton saying, hey, well, if they're not going to spend the money, we're going to use it for us, right? Like, so
Yes.
I see a lot of the revenue that we generate not just sitting here and being unused or waiting for the county to spend it. I see other folks saying, okay, well, we're going to take it and run with it
Yes,
then, right?
and that very well could be what's happening with some of the money that should be coming back to Navarre.
Yeah.
But I also think it's kind of unrealistic to think that the county should truly and intimately know our needs as well as we do. We live here. We know
Good
that
point.
we have
Yeah.
certain areas that flood. Like, we have an area just north of us. Anytime we get heavy rainfall on our road, cars will try to drive through it, and they always kind of die.
Yeah.
So it's
Oh, yeah.
so storm. We
Yeah.
know our needs. We